Okay, Celtics Cavs. Really fun game overall, I'd say. Your two best teams in the East. Maybe your two best defenses in the entire league going at it. I'd say these two right now are heavily my favorites to be in the conference finals. I'm sure they're almost everybody else's as well. Some people argue the Bucks, of course, but these two teams are awesome to watch. I recommend it any chance they're on TV. Give it, even if you don't even have time to watch a full game, 15 minutes, just getting to watch them on court. If you love basketball, they are basketball teams, and emphasis on the word team because that is the type of game they play, team basketball. The first quarter was like all defense up until about the final 3 minutes, and then threes just began to rain down from both sides, and both teams started just scoring the paint. I think that's once rotations happen, you start taking out key players on those starting lineups. Defense starts to come a little together. You know what I mean? It was also when, and noticeably when Jared Allen left the court, that the Celtics went up 20, and Jaylen Brown specifically was like scoring at will in the paint. It was not so pretty. Eventually, the Cavs were able to cut that lead down in the second quarter by like 10. Mitchell just went on a crazy run. He was awesome. He was hitting threes, hitting mid-range shots, driving to the paint. He was unstoppable for a moment, and that was kind of a common theme throughout the whole game. Mitchell could just do whatever he wanted in choice moments for sets amount of time. Overall, though, like, the Celtics won this game. They made it look easy. Like, they just beat a team that has shown to be insanely difficult to beat this entire season, and they never once felt like they were sweating it. You're reigning defending NBA champions, I recognize that, but even then, like, wow, this team is almost, in my eyes, 90% certain to repeat, and that's crazy, especially in today's NBA. But that's just goes to show the coaching from Joe Mazzulla, who I think is becoming my favorite coach in the NBA. I mean, the guy is an absolute psychopath, and I love it. I love everything about him. I love every little crazy clip I see of him talking post-game, pre-game, where he'll drop just an insane dime of information or a cool, hilarious quote that isn't at all intended to be hilarious, but the guy's crazy. But going back to the Celtics team, he combined with one of the most stacked rosters of all time. It equals unstoppable tank of a basketball team that rolls onto the court and runs people over at will. Donovan Mitchell actually had a really cool dunk in the first quarter on Porzingis. He just fucking slammed that shit in. It was amazing. Loved it. Ty Jerome looked pretty good early on. He came in off the bench and gave Cavs some production, helped a lot in that bounce back from that 20-point deficit. Allen was, like, amazing tonight on both ends. He owned the paint. He was dominant in every single way. Porzingis had a good game, Horford had a good game, but Allen, they couldn't do anything to him. Garland and Mitchell's offense was really fun tonight, especially they were kind of, along with Allen, the key benefactors of keeping the Cavs in this game. I mean, those three guys in particular are mostly the reason this was even a game in the first place. They were just amazing, especially Mitchell and especially Allen. Garland had a great game as well, though, on top of it. His playmaking and just his short bursts of offense where he'd get off a screen, hit a nice three, or drive to the paint and either get fouled or finish with a nice layup. I mean, it was awesome. Merrill was also great from three. I think he had a little injury scare sometime in the second half. I can't remember exactly where, but he was just kind of very efficient, very, very good off the bench for the Cavaliers. Very clutch in certain moments where things were starting to get out of hand. He'd save them. Going back more on the Cavs, Donovan Mitchell was like a killer in the fourth quarter. Like, he was just trying and fighting to keep this team in it, especially when it seemed like the Celtics were just going to win comfortably. He made sure that it was not an easy win, not one bit. Even though you could argue for most of the game, Celtics didn't make it look easy, like I said. He was clearly putting it all out there to ensure that at least this stayed close. There's actually also a funny moment now that I'm remembering. Max Struss and Kristaps got into it a little bit. Struss had shoved Kristaps. Kristaps went flying to the floor, a little flop. Struss was pissed, man. Overall, they ruled it just a common foul. They come back in, you can still see Struss just talking and yapping at Porzingis, and you knew he was pissed. Celtics defense was really tough tonight, top to bottom. KP really struggled a lot. I mean, his jumper, man, was just tonight, which is crazy that they basically won the majority of this game, and yet Kristaps Porzingis' jumper was terrible. Like, the guy couldn't buy a shot, and yet not once did it actually really affect things. Same with Derek White. You know, he struggled to shoot up until, like, the fourth quarter, where all of a sudden the guy's amazing. You know, he hit 2 clutch threes in the final few minutes of the game. And he, overall, while good on defense, was not so great on the offensive end when it came to his production. However, he turned it around, especially when Tatum and Brown started to trail off. That's when he really, like, took over. Tatum and Brown, they were, like, great in the first half, I'd say. And then once you get into the third, the team, overall the Celtics offense, I thought, slowed down a bit. They started relying a little bit more on Porzingis in the paint, and then Derek White being able to just shoot threes and hit some nice layups for him. I think focusing more like on Jaylen Brown, he was like really great in the first half, you know, especially getting to the paint and just doing whatever he wanted at will. His second half, he just never really came back to the court as the same guy. It was really weird. He got in foul trouble. I understand that, and that's a little frustrating. Maybe that has something to do with it, but it just wasn't the same. Celtics also, key thing for them tonight, just a ton of putbacks, man. Like, they were just cleaning the boards up on the offensive end and just getting whatever they wanted. And that was a big thing with, like, Porzingis is allowed to miss a three because somebody's going to get the offensive rebound for the Celtics. Or Derek White could miss a wide open three, or Tatum could miss a jumper. Like, it was crazy how many jumpers these guys were allowed to miss and still get a second chance. Cavaliers, despite having Mobley and Allen, didn't really find a great way to recover from this. It was just kind of a common trend throughout the whole game, it felt like. Brown had a tech by, like, Scott Foster on the bench as well. I talked about him being in foul trouble. He had mounted something, and then Scott Foster runs in out of nowhere and just throws a tech on him, and you can see he's just shocked, and that was a funny moment. Finally, touching more on the Celtics, their role players were awesome. Specifically, to give you an example, these guys who come off the bench, like Horford, Pritchard, are awesome. Like, they do everything you can dream of from your role players. They play great defense. They shoot threes. They can get an offensive rebound out of nowhere. They get clutch defensive rebounds. They move the ball around well. Like, they all do everything. They can handle the ball well. It's crazy. They, for the most part, can all finish in the paint if they need to. You know, there was a clutch moment with the final 2 minutes left where Pritchard just runs in and gets this great offensive rebound, you know, right when the Cavs are trying to finish that comeback and make it, I believe it was going to be like a 2-point game, something like that. And it was like, gave the Celtics a second chance once again, you know, and that's just a testament to how clutch all of these guys are for them. Overall, really fun game. If you get a chance to at least catch highlights, I'd say do it. I'm still a little shocked that the Celtics are just able to make it look that easy on these Cavs, especially with the way they've been playing all season, you know. I know that's a little disrespectful, actually, to the Cavaliers, but, I mean, it just never felt like there was a moment where they even had a chance. Maybe a few bursts by Mitchell, especially at the end of the game, but I never once felt like, oh, yeah, the Cavs could win this game. I just always felt like the Celtics had it. Anyways, guys, thanks for listening. Talk to you all later.